We are going to talk about the health and vitality of our most precious and miraculous possession, our brain. I want to start by acknowledging a quiet fear, a shadow of anxiety that I know lives in the hearts of so many of us. It is the fear of losing our minds. It's that jolt of panic you feel when a familiar name is suddenly, inexplicably, gone from your memory. It's that frustrating search for your keys, only to find them in the refrigerator. It's that moment you walk into a room and completely forget why you are there. We often call these senior moments, and we might even laugh them off. But underneath the laughter, there is often a current of real fear. We worry. Is this the beginning of the end? Is my memory starting to fail me? Is this the first step on that long, slow slide into cognitive decline? This fear is completely understandable. Our memories, our thoughts, our ability to reason. These are the very essence of who we are. They are the threads that weave together the tapestry of our identity, our relationships, and our life story. The thought of that tapestry beginning to unravel is, without a doubt, one of the most frightening prospects of aging. Because of this deep-seated fear, many of us have become incredibly proactive. We have become dedicated students of brain health. We do our crossword puzzles, we stay socially engaged, and we have made a conscious and diligent effort to eat a brain-healthy diet, based on the advice we have received for decades. But what if I told you that one of the cornerstones of that so-called brain-healthy diet, a food that has been praised and promoted by doctors and health organizations for years, a food that you are likely eating every single day with the very best of intentions, could actually be a secret saboteur? What if I told you that this trusted health food might be silently contributing to the very brain fog and senior moments you are so desperately trying to avoid? Today, we are going to pull back the curtain on a surprising and difficult truth. We are going to act as neurological detectives, and we are going to identify the number one brain-healthy food that may be secretly harming your cognitive health. We will explore, in simple and clear terms, the scientific reasons why this food, which seems so innocent, can create a state of low-grade chronic inflammation, a condition that neurologists are now referring to as fire in the brain. But this will not be a conversation about fear or deprivation. It is a conversation about empowerment and delicious upgrades. After we have identified our culprit, we will then explore a beautiful and exciting menu of simple, delicious, and truly brain-boosting swaps that you can begin to incorporate into your life immediately. Before we embark on this eye-opening journey, it is absolutely essential that I state this with the utmost clarity. This conversation is for educational purposes only. It is designed to provide you with a new perspective and to empower you with knowledge. It is not a substitute for professional medical advice. Any concerns about your memory or cognitive health should be discussed with your doctor, who can provide a proper diagnosis and personalized guidance. They are your most valuable and trusted partner. So let us begin this important journey together. Let's challenge what we thought we knew and learn the simple, surprising secrets to building a clearer, sharper, and more resilient brain. Before we unmask our secret culprit, it is absolutely essential that we understand the new and emerging science of brain health, and specifically, the central role of one key factor: inflammation. For a very long time, we thought about the brain as being separate from the rest of the body, protected by what is known as the blood-brain barrier. We now know that this is not entirely true. The health of your brain is inextricably linked to the health of your body, and particularly to the level of inflammation in your body. I want you to think of inflammation in two ways. First, there is acute inflammation, which is a good and necessary thing. When you cut your finger, your immune system rushes to the site, creating redness, swelling, and heat. This is your body's healing response in action. It is a short-term, targeted fire that puts out a threat and then goes away. But there is another, more insidious type of inflammation called chronic, low-grade inflammation. This is not a raging fire, but a slow, silent smoldering. It is a state where your immune system is slightly activated, all the time, throughout your entire body. This smoldering fire doesn't have an off switch. And this is the state that is now being linked to nearly every major chronic disease of aging, from heart disease and arthritis to, most importantly for our conversation today, cognitive decline and neurodegenerative diseases like Alzheimer's. When this chronic inflammation is present in the brain, neurologists have started calling it inflammaging, or more vividly, fire in the brain. This brain on fire is not a healthy environment for your delicate brain cells, your neurons. This state of chronic inflammation can disrupt the communication between your neurons, which can manifest as that frustrating feeling of brain fog, slow thinking, and difficulty with word recall. Over the long term, this constant inflammatory state can damage and destroy your precious brain cells, which can contribute to the progressive memory loss we see in dementia. So the number one goal of a truly brain-healthy diet is to do everything in our power to put out this fire. It is to choose foods that are anti-inflammatory, and just as importantly, to identify and remove the foods that are secretly fanning the flames. And this brings us, with a great deal of surprise for many of you, to our number one brain-healthy imposter. So, what is this secret culprit? What is this food that so many of us have been dutifully eating, believing we were protecting our brains? The food I am talking about is modern whole wheat bread. Now, I can feel the collective shock and confusion. Whole wheat bread. But we've been told for 50 years that it's the healthy choice. We were told to swap our unhealthy white bread for heart-healthy, brain-healthy whole wheat. The packaging is often brown and earthy, with pictures of golden fields of wheat. It is the very symbol of a wholesome, responsible food choice. This is the myth. The reality is that for many of us, especially as our bodies and brains are maturing after the age of 60, modern whole wheat bread can be a significant source of the very inflammation we are trying to avoid. The problem is twofold, and it lies in the very nature of the modern wheat itself, and in how our bodies process it. The first part of the problem is a protein that you have likely heard a great deal about: gluten. Gluten is the primary protein found in wheat, barley, and rye. For a small percentage of the population with celiac disease, gluten triggers a severe autoimmune reaction. But what the science is now revealing is that a much larger percentage of the population may have what is called non-celiac gluten sensitivity. In these individuals, the consumption of gluten doesn't cause a full-blown autoimmune disease, but it does trigger a low-grade inflammatory response, particularly in the gut. Now, why does a fire in your gut matter to your brain? There is an incredible and powerful connection known as the gut-brain axis. Your gut and your brain are in constant, two-way communication. A state of inflammation in the gut can lead to a leaky gut, where inflammatory molecules can escape from the digestive tract and enter the bloodstream, triggering a body-wide inflammatory response. This systemic inflammation can then cross the blood-brain barrier, contributing to that fire in the brain. For a person with a sensitive system, a daily sandwich on whole wheat bread can be like throwing a small log on that smoldering fire, day after day. The second part of the problem is the glycemic load of the bread itself. We often think of whole wheat as being a complex carbohydrate that is digested slowly. But the reality of modern, commercially produced whole wheat bread is very different. Most of the whole wheat bread you find on the grocery store shelf is made from wheat that has been pulverized into a very fine flour. This process is done to create a soft, fluffy loaf that has a long shelf life. However, this pulverization shatters the fibrous structure of the wheat grain. This means that from a digestive standpoint, your body can break it down into sugar with incredible speed. In fact, the glycemic index of many common whole wheat breads is shockingly high, often equal to or even higher than that of pure table sugar. Now let's trace the neurological damage this causes. You eat your healthy whole wheat toast for breakfast. It is rapidly converted into glucose, causing a huge spike in your blood sugar. This surge of blood sugar is directly inflammatory. High levels of sugar in the bloodstream can damage the lining of our blood vessels, including the delicate vessels in our brain. Your body then releases a flood of the hormone insulin to deal with this sugar. This is followed by the inevitable blood sugar crash a couple of hours later. This wild swing in blood sugar, from a sharp high to a deep low, is incredibly stressful for the brain. That feeling of brain fog, irritability, and sleepiness that you feel mid-morning? That is your brain crying out for a stable source of fuel. This daily roller coaster of blood sugar, and the underlying inflammation from gluten sensitivity, can create a chronic state of metabolic and neurological stress, silently eroding your cognitive health over time. So the empowering question is, what do we do? Do we have to give up bread and sandwiches forever? Absolutely not. This is not about deprivation. It is about making a simple, delicious, and neurologically superior swap. The first superior swap is to switch to true, traditionally fermented sourdough bread. Let's understand why sourdough is in a completely different category from modern commercial bread. Traditional sourdough is not made with commercial yeast. It is made with a starter, a living culture of wild yeasts and beneficial bacteria. During the long, slow fermentation process, these amazing microorganisms predigest the flour. They break down the gluten proteins into smaller, more easily digestible components, which can make it much better tolerated by people with non-celiac gluten sensitivity. Even more importantly, these bacteria consume many of the sugars and starches in the flour. This means that a slice of true sourdough has a significantly lower glycemic index than regular bread. It provides a much gentler, slower release of energy, avoiding that damaging blood sugar spike and crash. When you are buying sourdough, look for a loaf from an artisanal bakery with a simple ingredient list: flour, water, salt, and starter. It is a bread that is not only delicious, with its complex, tangy flavor, but it is a bread that respects your brain. But we are not going to stop there. Let's explore some other truly brain-boosting foods that you can enjoy. Our second superior swap is a food that is a true gift from nature to our brains. I'm talking about a small handful of blueberries. Neurologists and nutrition scientists are in universal agreement on this one. If there is a single food that could be called a superfood for the brain, it is the humble blueberry. Their power comes from a class of potent antioxidant and anti-inflammatory compounds called anthocyanins. These are the pigments that give blueberries their beautiful, deep blue and purple color. These anthocyanins are like a team of firefighters for your brain. They are able to cross the blood-brain barrier and directly combat the fire in the brain by neutralizing inflammatory free radicals. Studies have shown that regular consumption of blueberries is linked to improved memory and a slower rate of age-related cognitive decline. They have even been shown to improve communication between brain cells and to stimulate the growth of new neurons in the memory center of the brain. The beautiful thing is that you don't need to eat a huge amount. A small handful, about a half a cup, a few times a week, is enough to provide a powerful benefit. You can add them to a bowl of plain Greek yogurt, blend them into a smoothie, or simply enjoy them on their own as a sweet and delicious snack. It is a simple, joyful, and incredibly powerful way to protect your precious mind. Our third superior swap is a food that many people think of as an indulgent treat, but when chosen correctly, it is one of the most powerful brain protective foods you can eat. We are going to talk about dark chocolate. Now, it is very important that we are specific here. We are not talking about a sugary, milk chocolate candy bar. We are talking about high-quality dark chocolate with a cocoa content of 70% or higher. The power of dark chocolate comes from a group of antioxidant compounds called flavonoids, which are found in the cacao bean. These flavonoids are potent anti-inflammatory agents, working in a similar way to the anthocyanins in blueberries to help quell the fire in the brain. But they have another, unique and powerful benefit. They have been shown to improve blood flow to the brain. They do this by stimulating the production of nitric oxide, a molecule that helps to relax and dilate our blood vessels. Improved blood flow means that your brain is receiving a richer supply of the oxygen and the nutrients it needs to function at its best. Studies have shown that even a single serving of high flavonoid cocoa can improve cognitive performance, particularly on tasks that require attention and memory. The key is to choose a chocolate with a high percentage of cocoa, as this is where the flavonoids are concentrated, and a low amount of sugar. Just 1 or 2 small squares of high-quality dark chocolate a few times a week is a delicious and sophisticated way to indulge your sweet tooth while actively nourishing and protecting your brain. It is a perfect example of how a truly brain-healthy diet can be filled with pleasure and joy. So let's bring our journey of discovery to a close today. We started by acknowledging the deep and universal fear of losing our minds, the fear that fuels our senior moments. We pulled back the curtain on the conventional wisdom and identified a surprising culprit: modern whole wheat bread, a food that, for many of us, can be a source of brain-damaging inflammation and blood sugar volatility. We learned that this is not about a lack of willpower, but about a misunderstanding of our modern food supply and our maturing biology. But we did not leave ourselves in a place of fear or deprivation. We empowered ourselves with knowledge and with delicious, superior alternatives. we discovered the ancient wisdom of true, long-fermented sourdough bread. A bread that is gentler on our gut and our blood sugar. We celebrated the simple, profound power of a handful of blueberries, nature's own team of firefighters for our brain. And we found a deep and satisfying pleasure in a small square of dark chocolate, an indulgent treat that is also a potent brain-boosting medicine. I hope that you are leaving this conversation today with a new sense of clarity, a new sense of hope, and a new sense of empowerment. You are the sole curator of the health of your brain. You have the power, every single day, at every single meal, to make a choice. You can choose to fan the flames of inflammation, or you can choose to put them out. You can choose to ride the exhausting roller coaster of blood sugar, or you can choose to provide your brain with the steady, stable fuel it needs to thrive. I invite you to take this knowledge and to put it into gentle, compassionate practice. Start with one small change. Maybe this week, you will seek out a beautiful loaf of artisanal sourdough, or you will add a handful of blueberries to your morning yogurt. Be curious. Be a scientist in your own life. Pay attention to how you feel. Notice the subtle shifts in your mental clarity, in your energy, in your mood. This is the path to a sharper, clearer, and more resilient mind. This is how you change the story. This is how you protect the precious, irreplaceable gift of your own brilliant consciousness. Thank you for taking this important journey with me today. Be well, and may your mind be ever clear and bright.